Many of the events that we run here at DJ Learning, there are some areas that will come into several of them. One of which, of course, is communication. And the late Sir Peter Ustinov said, "The art of communication is being understood." A very simple phrase behind which lies a big range of complexities. A Stephen Covey quote is that most people do not listen with the intent to understand, they listen with the intent to reply. So in other words, it's about them and not on the person that they're communicating with. So at our events, there are a number of things that we look to explore together. The first is, it is really important to understand your audience. So you think about them before you think about you. Who is it that's going to receive the message that you're trying to convey? What is their level of knowledge? What's their level of understanding? How do they respect you as their communicator? How big is your audience? When are they expecting to hear from you? There's all sorts of variables we need to think about. Today, we also need to think about the right channel or channels to use. So, should it be face-to-face? Should it be by email? Should it be by video conference? You need to really pause and think about which is the optimum channel or channels to use, because to communicate in the wrong way can be quite limiting. It's also important that you're really clear and concise and informed when you're communicating with the audience, that you make sure that you understand in the first place. You've got to be wary though of being too concise or being too expansive. Always look to get the right balance depending on who it is that you're communicating with in the first place. And also how you communicate. So when you're thinking about your audience, I get many emails, as I'm sure most of you do, every day. And I've been called all sorts of things. From the person that's sending them, I've been called an all, I've been called an each, I've been called an esteemed colleague, amongst lots of other things. I think, well, what is that all about? You know, I'm a person. So you need to think about who it is you're communicating with and why, and how they're going to feel when they get that message from you through whatever channel. We also explore ways in which you can regularly check the understanding of your messages to make sure that when they've been received, they've been clearly understood, so that the recipient has got a clear awareness about what it is they're expecting to do as a result of that communication. So that your email gets read, so that your voicemail gets picked up, so that after your video conference, everybody's got a very clear and specific series of directions about what needs to happen next. It is really important. Clarity is so important when you're communicating. We also spend time thinking about how, in the constraints of your organizational context, that you can reinforce any message that you've been given. If you send out a message and just let it go, and sometimes you'll hear these wonderful words, "I'll get back to you," or "let's just make sure we're on the same page." I'm never quite sure what all of that is supposed to mean in terms of deliverables. You need to check understanding. You need to make sure that everybody understands what it is they need to do. So sometimes it's really important that you reinforce that message, perhaps by a follow-up phone call, perhaps by having a follow-up email, perhaps by having a follow-up meeting, whatever is the right way to do these things. In today's world as well, when we're communicating, we need to think about what is the most effective and efficient way of communicating. Rework costs and is more resource intensive than getting it right first time. And also because all of us are under increased resource constraints, it's the real world in which we live, we look at ways in which we can constantly look at the communication processes that you work with and how we can make them more effective. What it is we need to do to look at our various communication channels and how they can work better today and tomorrow and moving forward. And directly leading on from that, any ways in which we communicate need to accommodate change. So for example, in your places of work will look at the role of technology. It's there. It's something that we really need to embrace. But we also need to be quite careful when we're communicating, because we need to make absolutely sure that we are managing technology and that technology is not managing us. There's a huge difference. We hear of organisations all of the time that use technology to communicate because that seems to be the thing to do. The gap can sometimes be measuring the effectiveness of communicating through technology, when another way might be much more effective. So we explore things like that on our events. Communication is incredibly complicated. It is a skill. We look at all the different skills and capabilities you need to have when you're communicating. So for example, listening skills, observation skills, learning about each other's body language, the need for emotional intelligence, lots of different things that we can explore together. Please take the opportunity to have a look at our website, because that will give you a little bit more information about what we do on these types of events. So our website address is www.djlearning.co.uk. Thank you very much.